Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Andrew Missick. I'm a candidate for the Texas State Legislature to represent HD 18, which is Liberty, San Jacinto, East Montgomery, and Hardin counties. In this video, I want to talk about a little bit about my incumbent and then about me. And we need change. We need change, and I believe we're going to get it. And it looks like Ernest Bales, the incumbent, is going to be voted out because of three strikes. Three strikes and Bales is out. Number one, he voted to impeach Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton has been a very effective attorney general, and they wanted to take him out. Why was Ken Paxton impeached? Because the Biden administration asked liberal Republicans, including Ernest Bales, to do this, to take him out of the fight, because he was pushing back effectively against the far left and destructive agenda of the Biden administration. Ken Paxton was taking them to court and winning. So the Biden administration called up Dade Phelan, the Speaker of the House, the Texas House of Representatives, and Ernest Bales, and asked them to impeach Ken Paxton. Of course, thank God, it was a great ordeal. But Ken Paxton was able to overcome and prevail. Thank God for it. Strike two, school choice. This is a big deal here in HD 18.
Representative Ernest Bales blocked school choice legislation in Texas. This comes after over 87% of Republicans in his district voted in favor of giving parents the power to choose the best educational path for their children. It's time for a change. On March 5th, let's unite for school choice and stand with parents, not against them. Your vote can make a difference. Step up for the future of our children. Empower parents, empower our future.
We need alternatives in education. We need to empower our students to succeed. And one of the ways you do that is school choice, to allow parents to choose to homeschool their children, to allow them to choose to send their kids to a Christian school or private school, to create alternatives and new opportunities, to set up our children for success. Ernest Bales is a minion of the left-wing teachers' unions, and he has done everything he can to prevent education reform. He's holding our kids back, and we need to have change to set our children up for success.
Every parent should have the right to choose the best school for their children. But State Rep Ernest Bales disagrees. He did the bidding of radical liberal unions, trying to turn Texas blue by voting to block school choice for Texas families, voting to kill $4,000 teacher pay raises, and denying millions in funding for our local public schools. Ernest Bales sides with liberal unions, not Texas.
The third strike, Colony Ridge. What is Colony Ridge? Colony Ridge is a settlement of illegal aliens here in Liberty County, where I'm recording this video, where I pastor, outside of Cleveland. Ernest Bales helped to create Colony Ridge with legislation that bestowed special privileges and protections on John and Trey Harris, who seem to be very corrupt, deceitful people, who are exploiting, according to the Department of Justice, they're exploiting Hispanics. Ernest Bales wants to change the demographics of HD 18. He wants to do it through bringing in this huge settlement of illegal aliens. Right now, there's 75,000, mostly illegal aliens, that Ernest Bales has brought in to HD 18 and settled here. And he intends to grow it to 250,000, 250,000. That's his goals. Why is he doing this? Well, Ernest Bales votes as a Democrat, as we'll see, and he started off as a Democrat. He only switched parties so he could run for office. Here, right now, HD 18 is solidly red. Ernest Bales wants to change that. And we know that because Ernest Bales attended a Flip Texas Blue rally, wearing a purple shirt, showing that he's going to transition Texas from red to purple to blue. We don't need that. We need to keep Texas red, and we need to keep Texas strong, and we need to protect our entire country, United States of America, with Texan strength and Texas values. So other things about Bales, as I mentioned, he has a far left voting record. Rice University Analytics, they took his voting record, they stuck it in a computer. They entered the data of his voting records in the computer. They ran it through the system, Rice University Analytics, and what came out was, based on analyzing his voting record, Ernest Bales was determined to be not by a partisan organization, not by a conservative think tank, but by Rice University. They have found him to be a liberal. He's a liberal. And we also need to look at grading his electoral record. He is weak on pro-life issues. He's been given a failing grade by Texas Right to Life. When he began as a state legislator, he earned a 42 based on his voting record. He's weak on pro-life issues. He brought his grade up because he was exposed for it to a 68. He is still failing. Also, he's a tax and spend liberal. Texans for Fiscal Responsibility also graded his legislative record, and they gave him a 38 because he's not a fiscal conservative, he's a tax and spend liberal. Now, what about me? So what I'm saying to people is this is a Republican primary. And what we have now is a Democrat, Ernest Bales, who runs on the Republican ticket. And what we need is a convinced and committed conservative Republican to hold office and truly represent the voters of HD 18. And I will do that. And I have something else that none of the other candidates have, and that's experience on the border. Our nation is in peril because our border is wide open. Probably 12 to 20 million people have crossed this border illegally since Joe Biden seized power. Selected, not elected. And what else do we have? We have fentanyl coming across the border, drugs, sex trafficking, child trafficking. 100,000 American young people dying every year from fentanyl poisoning. We need someone who understands the border like I do. I worked at the border with the National Guard for 4 years, and I've been in every port of entry and every area of the border from Brownsville all the way to El Paso. And I understand the urgent need for border security, and I know it because I lived on the border and I worked on the border with the military. I know the border very well, and I know what we need to do to fix it because I've seen failing policies and I've seen policies that succeed. I have 30 years of military experience, including 2 deployments to Iraq, and I think that's important. I am pastor of King of Saints Tabernacle, a church outside of Cleveland, Texas. When I win, I'm going to make border security a high priority. I'm also going to hold Colony Ridge accountable. Right now, they're allowed to do whatever they want. They're allowed to skirt policies and regulations in the code, and they're creating environmental damage. They've been pumping tens of thousands of gallons of raw sewage into our rivers, creeks, and lakes, into our drinking water. The roads there are not built up to standard. They're collapsing. They've created a flood zone that's flooding all the way down into Kingwood. How has this been allowed to happen? Because Ernest Bales enabled it. He wants to build new school buildings for these illegal aliens. Look, things are hard for Americans. Since Joe Biden seized power, our dollar has lost 2/3 of its value. And now Ernest Bales wants to put this burden of having to finance and fund Colony Ridge and this illegal alien settlement on us. It's not fair. He doesn't care about the people. And we need to stand up and have change and hold him accountable and hold John and Trey Harris accountable and defend the people that are being exploited by John and Trey Harris and stand up for the families of HD 18 who've also been taken advantage of and exploited by Ernest Bales and the Harris brothers. So that's an issue that we have to tackle. The border, Colony Ridge. We also need to have education reform and school choice. We also need to have a champion of conservative values, someone who stands for traditional, moral, and biblical values, as I do and as I will, and defend our basic freedoms which are under attack. If you want more information about me and my campaign, I have several videos up on YouTube, and I'm on social media, and you can get a hold of me every Wednesday night at King of Saints Tabernacle, in Cleveland, Texas. We're praying for the nation. And I invite you to come and join us as we pray for our country. I believe our nation is in peril. We can't go on like this. It's unsustainable. We must have change. We have to have victory in November and vote Joe Biden and his cronies out of office. I do not believe America can survive 4 more years of this hyperinflation, of this open border. Imagine, they brought 20 million illegal aliens over in 3 years. They're not going to stop until they're out of office. And if these continues to be in office, that's going to be another 40 million illegal aliens since Joe Biden seized power. We can't go on like this. If he remains in office, probably by the end of his second term, our dollar will only have 1/10 of its value since he took over. We have to have conservative, stalwart conservative warriors who are willing to stand up and fight for our Constitution, as I have. I have taken enemy fire in Iraq. I've been shot at, had explosions around me, and I'm prepared to continue to fight for the Constitution as I served and as a combatant in Iraq. The first time I went to Iraq, I went as a soldier. The second time I was a chaplain. So please support our campaign. Vote for change. God bless you, and I hope to see you on the campaign trail.